Hello everyone. Dear viewers of my YouTube channel, I wanted to resume my journey through the music world. The heroes of today's video are the group Nirvana. I have collected for you top 10 interesting facts about this group and its frontman Kurt Cobain. Friends, do not forget to subscribe to my channel, like, leave comments and share videos on your social networks. Go! 10th place. Despite being, by all accounts, a slob, Kurt Cobain worked as a janitor at Aberdeen High School shortly after leaving her. The dancing janitor in the music video for "Smells Like Teen Spirit" was a joke for those who knew about Cobain's old job. 9th place. Kurt Cobain and Krist Novoselic have always been members of Nirvana, formerly known as Skid Row, Pencapchew, Bliss, Windowpane, Ed Ted Fred, etc. But finding a permanent drummer turned out to be even more difficult than coming up with a decent name for the band. In the winter of 1987, Krist and Kurt hired drummer Aaron Burkhard. He angered Cobain by taking Kurt's car, which was then confiscated after he was arrested for a fight with a police officer. Then there was temporarily the drummer of the Melvins, Dale Crover, with whose participation the first demos were made. Next up was Dave Foster, arrested for assaulting the son of the mayor of Cosmopolis in Washington. Burkhard returned briefly, but once announced that he had too much hangover to rehearse. Then a mutual friend introduced Cobain and Novoselic to Chad Channing, who stayed in the group for 2 years. After Channing's departure, the Melvins' Dale Crover played drums for several weeks before being replaced by Mudhoney drummer Dan Peters. Following the breakup of Scream in September 1990, Buzz Osborne of the Melvin introduced the now-free Dave Grohl to Kurt and Krist. With this, the vicious circle of changing drummers in the group Nirvana was completed. 8th place. Guitarist Jason Everman did not appear on Nirvana's first album, Bleach, although the musician list on the cover says, Jason Everman, guitar. He was added to the list thanks to the fact that he gave the band $606.17 to record the album. No one else in the group had a real paid job. After completing the recording, Everman briefly remained with the band as co-guitarist, but left after his first American tour. The money for the Nirvana album was never returned to Jason Everman. 7th place. After a night of drinking, Kurt Cobain and then roommate Dave Grohl joined Bikini Kill frontman Kathleen Hanna and drummer Toby Vale in their humble abode. The party went on and eventually Hanna sprayed on Cobain's wall with the phrase, "Kurt smells like Teen Spirit." She meant that Cobain smelled like the popular Teen Spirit deodorant used by then-girlfriend Toby Vale. The musician interpreted this phrase as a slogan with revolutionary overtones, "Kurt blows a teenage spirit," because that evening they discussed anarchism, punk rock and other similar topics. Subsequently, Cobain claimed that he found out about the existence of the deodorant only a few months after the release of the single. 6th place. The music video for "Smells Like Teen Spirit" premiered on MTV's 120 Minutes music show on Sunday, September 29, 1991. Cobain watched himself in a hotel room at the Roger Smith Hotel in New York and called his mother to tell her, "It's me." 5th place. It all started in 1989, when Nirvana released the song "Negative Creep," with the chorus "Daddy's Little Girl Ain't a Girl No More." The song drew some criticism from the Seattle music scene due to the fact that it closely resembled the lyrics of the 1988 song "Sweet Young Thing Ain't Sweet No More," written by Mudhoney, Nirvana's sub-pop label mate. According to Michael Azerrad, author of Come As You Are, The Story of Nirvana, Cobain argued that this similarity was an example of subconscious theft. 4th place. Kurt Cobain wrote Polly in 1987 after reading an article about the torture and rape of a 14-year-old girl. Cobain modernized the story a little, adding a plot twist. That the girl managed to deceive the rapist by entering into his trust and making it clear that she liked what he was doing with her. As a result, she dulled his vigilance and due to this was able to escape. The story in the song is told from the perspective of the rapist. Singer Bob Dylan, hearing the song Polly, said of Cobain, "This kid has a heart." 3rd place. On Friday the 13th, Geffen threw the band a release party with an invitation that read, "Nevermind triskaidekaphobia. Here's Nirvana." Cobain started a full-fledged food war when he threw ranch sauce at Novoselic. In response, the bouncer grabbed the two and Grohl and threw them away. The group then stood in an alley behind the club and talked to their friends through the window before moving the party to a friend. There Cobain fired a fire extinguisher. The place had to be evacuated. In the next place, Cobain continued the destruction, throwing the gold plate of the group Nelson in the microwave, declaring it an insult to humanity. 2nd place. Nirvana was in trouble at the 1992 MTV Video Music Awards, and naturally their song selection was one big problem. MTV told the band that they wanted to hear "Smells Like Teen Spirit." But the band wanted to perform a new song called "Rape Me." MTV executives were unhappy with the song because, according to show producer Amy Finity, they thought the lyrics were about them. They insisted that Nirvana would not play "Rape Me," threatening to stop the band from performing on the show and stop broadcasting their clips on MTV. After a heated debate, MTV and Nirvana agreed that the band would play the song, "Lithium." When Nirvana started the show, Kurt suddenly played and sang the opening from "Rape Me." They were about to urgently interrupt the performance by leaving for advertising, when suddenly, "Lithium" started playing. 1st place. Although the song was inspired by a real heart-shaped box that Courtney Love sent to Kurt Cobain in the early days of their relationship. The original lyrics contained the words, "buried in a heart-shaped coffin." The final lyrics of the song contain the words, "locked in a heart-shaped box." Friends, thank you all for watching. I really hope that this video was interesting to you. I love you all very much. See you later.